If I'm Shedeur Sanders, I'm looking at Dylan Gabriel. You're already better than him from a football standpoint. You're going to be better than him on the practice field starting in Brea, Ohio in a couple weeks for training camp. Kenny Pickett, I think he can be beaten out at some point by halfway through that season. And then Joe Flacco is Joe Flacco, and they're going to want to move to a younger quarterback. So I'm looking at Shedeur Sanders just staying in the fight, waiting his turn, driving the speed limit, and by the back half of the season, there will be an opportunity for him. Just stay in the fight and compete.
Let me tell you something. Ryan Clark doesn't throw out compliments just to fill airtime. When he speaks, when he drops a take on national TV, especially about quarterbacks, you better believe the league listens. And what he just said about Shedeur Sanders, man, it wasn't just big. It was seismic. It was one of those statements that makes you pause, replay it, and say, wait, did he really just say that? Ryan Clark, a Super Bowl champion, a respected analyst, a guy who has spent his career in NFL locker rooms, just told the world that Shedeur Sanders, a rookie, a kid who hasn't taken a single regular season NFL snap, is already better than Dylan Gabriel. Already better. And then as if that wasn't enough, he doubled down and said Kenny Pickett, the so-called veteran competing for the same job, can be beaten out by mid-season. That's not fluff. That's not hot take TV. That's a respected NFL mind laying down the truth as he sees. Do you understand what this means for Browns fans? For Shedeur fans? For anyone who has been watching this quarterback room with a mix of hope and frustration? This isn't just some analyst stirring the pot. This is Ryan Clark looking right into that ESPN camera and saying in so many words, this job isn't locked down. This is open season. And Shedeur, he's coming. And I need you to understand why this is massive. Ryan Clark isn't the type to hand out free passes. This is the same guy who's gone toe-to-toe with some of the biggest names in football media. The same guy who has called out players when they weren't living up to their potential. He's brutally honest, sometimes to a fault. So when he goes out of his way to praise a rookie, when he says this guy is already better than the competition, you better believe he's not just trying to create headline. He's telling you what the film, what the football IQ, and what his gut are screaming at him. Shedeur Sanders is different. And think about the weight of those words in Cleveland, a city that's been starved, desperate for stability at quarterback. How many times have we heard the same song? A new savior arrives, hope fills the air, and then collapse. It's been the same cycle for decades. But Ryan Clark just lit a match under all of that. He just gave Browns fans a reason to believe this time could be different. If you're a Browns fan, how do you not get fired up? This isn't just about potential. This is about credibility. And Ryan Clark's credibility is rock solid. So if he's telling you Shedeur Sanders is coming for that job, you better buckle up, because if Ryan's right, this battle for QB1 just got a whole lot more interesting. And we're only at the start. Let's be real here. If you're looking at the Cleveland Browns quarterback room right now, you can't honestly tell me anyone has this job locked down. Not Kenny Pickett, not Dylan Gabriel, and definitely not Joe Flacco. This isn't a steady, settled situation. This is a battlefield, and Shedeur Sanders just walked in holding the wild card. Let's start with Kenny Pickett, because this is the guy everyone wants to crown as the veteran leader. And yeah, on paper, he's supposed to be the guy. He's got NFL starts under his belt. He's been through the grind in Pittsburgh. But let's not sugarcoat this. Pickett never really became what the Steelers thought he'd be. 2 seasons, 13 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. That's not franchise quarterback play, that's backup level production. You don't trade for a guy like that thinking he's gonna light the world on fire. You trade for him because you're hoping, praying he's good enough to hold things together until someone better takes over. And you know what? That's exactly what he feels like in Cleveland. A bridge. A placeholder. Then there's Dylan Gabriel. Look, I respect what this kid did in college. He was electric at Oklahoma, he can sling. But this is the NFL, and those windows don't stay open as long as they do in the Big 12. Gabriel's size, his arm strength, it's all good, but it's not great. And when you hear Ryan Clark, a guy who's been in NFL locker rooms for over a decade, flat out say Shedeur is already better than Gabriel, that's not a throwaway line, that's an indictment. Gabriel might be flashy, but his ceiling, it's not higher than Shedeur's floor. And then there's Joe Flacco. And look, I love what Flacco did last year. He came in, stabilized a disaster, and even gave Browns fans a little bit of hope in the process. But let's be real, Joe is 39 years old. He's not the future. He's barely the present. At this point in his career, Flacco's role isn't to win games in December. It's to teach the next guy how to be a pro. And that next guy is standing right behind him. So where does that leave Shedeur Sanders? I'll tell you where. Standing in a wide open field, staring at a job that's there for the taking. And that's not me hyping him up because I'm a fan. That's the reality of the situation. When Ryan Clark says the Browns quarterback room is there for him if he earns it, that's code for this competition is anyone's game. And here's the thing that makes this battle so fascinating. Cleveland needs this, desperately. This isn't just about who can run Kevin Stefanski's playbook the cleanest. This is about a city that's been starved for a quarterback it can believe in. We all know the history. The infamous jersey of broken promises, hanging in that downtown bar. Couch, Quinn, Whedon, Manziel, Mayfield, Watson, all those names crossed out, all those hopes dashed. This fan base has been through quarterback purgatory for 2 decades. And if you think they're gonna fall in love with Kenny Pickett or Dylan Gabriel, you haven't been paying attention. They want something new, something bold, someone who feels like the future. And that's why Shedeur's presence changes everything. He's not just another guy in a crowded room, he's the one with the highest ceiling. The one who brings energy, swagger and upside this roster hasn't seen in years, and the Browns know. So when we say this job is wide open, we're not being dramatic, we're being honest. Because right now all roads lead to an inevitable truth. If Shedeur can stack good days in camp, if he can earn that locker room's respect, this job might not just be his for the future. It could be his by mid-season. And that's where things start to get really interesting. Let's be real, it hasn't all been roses for Shedeur Sanders. And if we're gonna talk about him as a legit contender for QB1 in Cleveland, we have to talk about the headlines that made people question his maturity. Yeah, I'm talking about the speeding incidents. 2 separate late-night pullovers, clocked at over a. When that news broke, you could feel the shift. Fans who were ready to ride with him started asking, is this kid ready for the responsibility of being the face of an NFL franchise? And that's fair, it's a fair question, because when you're the quarterback of a team worth billions, when you're the potential savior of a city like Cleveland, everything you do is magnified. Every mistake becomes a story. Every lapse in judgment becomes a talking point. And the critics, oh, they pounced. He's immature. He's distracted. He's just a flashy NIL kid who can't handle the real pressure of the NFL. We've heard it all. And if you're Shedeur, that stuff has to sting. But here's the thing. The truly great quarterbacks, the ones who leave their mark on this league, they all faced their crucible early. Tom Brady, 6th-round pick who no one believed in. Aaron Rodgers sat in that draft room as team after team passed on him. Jalen Hurts, benched on national TV, questioned every step of the way. They all took their early pain and turned it into fuel. And that's exactly what Ryan Clark was preaching when he said Shedeur needs to stay in the fight, drive the speed limit, and earn respect. That wasn't just advice, that was a challenge. A call to Shedeur to take all the noise, all the doubt, and use it to sharpen his edge. Because this is the NFL, you don't get to run from the heat, you learn to live in it. Here's what gives me hope. Shedeur Sanders has been living under a spotlight his entire life. He's Deion Sanders' son. He's been a headline since high school. Every move he's made, from Jackson State to Colorado to the NFL, has been picked apart, analyzed and debated. And every single time, he's answered with poise and production. At Jackson State, people said the competition wasn't real. He dominated. At Colorado, they said the lights would be too bright. He put up 3,200 yards and 27 touchdowns behind one of the worst offensive lines in college football. When the pressure rises, Shedeur has a history of rising with it. So yeah, the mistakes are there, the critics are loud, but I think this is his moment. His chance to flip the narrative. If he leans into Ryan Clark's blueprint, keep his head down, work harder than everyone in that building, earn that locker room, those headlines won't define him. His play will, and if that happens, the same people who doubted him will be the first ones lining up to say they believed all along. But here's the thing, Shedeur doesn't need their belief, he just needs his shot. And from everything we're hearing, that shot is coming sooner than people think. If you really want to understand why Shedeur Sanders walks into Cleveland, looking so unshaken, you've got to go back to where this blueprint was written. And it starts with one man, Deion Primetime Sanders. Because Shedeur isn't just playing football, he's following a playbook that was crafted by one of the most magnetic, mentally unshakable, and culturally dominant athletes the game has ever seen. Deion built a career on more than speed and flash. He built it on owning his story. When the cameras came out, Primetime knew exactly who he was and how to control the narrative. But here's the thing, Shedeur isn't just copying that swagger, he's modernizing it. He's taken the Prime blueprint, be authentic, work harder than anyone in the room, make them feel you on and off the field, and repackaged it for a new generation. Think about what we've seen from him already. At Jackson State, under relentless media pressure, he didn't flinch. He turned that program into a cultural movement and made HBCU football a national conversation. At Colorado, behind one of the worst offensive lines in college football, he threw for over 3,200 yards and 27 touchdowns. And he didn't just do it with his arm, he did it with poise, never panicking, never pointing fingers. That's leadership. That's what the Prime blueprint looks like when it's carried out by someone who actually understands it. But what makes Shedeur fascinating is how he's blended that old-school toughness with something distinctly Gen Z. He's not just an athlete, he's a brand manager, a content creator, and a negotiator. While most rookies let their agents handle every deal, Shedeur is in the room. He's co-writing his own contracts. He's editing his own highlight reels, shaping his image on his term. This isn't just about chasing clout. This is strategy. He's building a personal empire while simultaneously chasing a starting quarterback job. That's not ego, that's evolution. And don't overlook how that plays in an NFL locker room. We've all seen talented guys fold under the weight of expectation. But when Shedeur steps in front of a mic, or into a huddle, there's a presence there, not loud, not performative, just confident. You can feel the lessons his father drilled into him. Earn respect with work. Control your narrative. Never let them define you. So when people wonder how a 23-year-old rookie can walk into one of the most chaotic quarterback situations in the league and look completely unbothered, here's your answer. He's been training for this his entire life. And if the prime blueprint worked for one of the greatest to ever do it, don't be surprised when it works for Shedeur too. And that's what makes this next chapter so exciting. Because if this is just the setup, imagine what happens when the story really begins to unfold. This isn't just another quarterback competition. This isn't just another rookie trying to climb a depth chart. This feels bigger. It feels like the start of something we haven't seen in Cleveland for a very, very long time. Think about what Ryan Clark's, not just the part where he called Shedeur Sanders already better than Dylan Gabriel, not just the part where he said Kenny Pickett could be beaten out by mid-season. It's the bigger picture, the way he laid out Shedeur's path, like it's not some long shot, but an actual roadmap. Stay patient, earn respect, drive the speed limit, and by the back half of the season, that opportunity is coming. That doesn't sound like speculation. That sounds like inevitability. And you can feel it, can't you? This isn't about hype. This isn't about clickbait. This is about a city that has been desperate, no starving, for someone who can change the story. Cleveland has lived through heartbreak at this position for decades. From Tim Couch to Johnny Manziel, to Baker Mayfield, to Deshaun Watson, every time the hope rose, it was crushed just as quickly. That jersey with all those names crossed out, it's not just a meme, it's pain. It's the weight of a fan base that wants one thing, stability, a reason to believe again. And that's what makes Shedeur's presence so powerful. He's not walking into Berea as just another quarterback. He's walking in as a symbol of what could be. He carries himself like a franchise guy, calm, composed, and more importantly, he's earned this moment. From Jackson State to Colorado, he's proven that when the spotlight gets hotter, his game rises with it. He's played under relentless pressure and still delivered. That's what Cleveland needs. That's what Cleveland deserves. Now imagine this. It's late November. The Browns are in the playoff hunt. The offense is sputtering, and a rookie with confidence beyond his years steps onto the field. This isn't just a fantasy. This is a very real scenario, and Ryan Clark sees it. You can hear it in the way he talks about Shedeur. Not like a project, but like a player who can rewrite the franchise's future. So I'm saying it now. This is the beginning of something. It might not be instant. It might not be pretty, but this feels like the first chapter of a story Cleveland fans will tell for years. Because this isn't just about Shedeur Sanders. It's about a city that's been waiting for someone to believe in. So buckle up, Cleveland. The Ryan Clark prediction might just come true. And if it does, we won't just be talking about Shedeur Sanders winning a quarterback battle. We'll be talking about the moment an era began. And that's the kind of story this city has been waiting for.